Hi, I'm Rosa Lewis, and this is the second of a two-part conversation with River Kenner, where we talk about two recent retreats that we've been on. I'm also doing some research about the retreats, so I've been asking people to reflect back what the experience was, and also gathered lots of recordings from reflections, group reflections during the retreats. From that, I've picked out some themes that have come up and people have shared. Things like that people are realizing that they are energy first and perspective comes above that, or that the retreat is giving people deep reference experiences that imprint in their body. So there was a list of themes I pulled out, and for this second conversation, we're largely oriented around sort of picking some of those themes out and diving a bit deeper in, speaking from the energy, as well as some more conversational stuff. The conversation starts with us just having a bit of a chat, so it's nice to include, and then we go on to dive into the retreats. I've been very sad recently.
That's
Maybe
surprising
not
to hear.
surprised.
Why? What's been going on?
Um, I think it was interesting when I was watching back and editing the video. We were like, you can just look at a face and see what's in a face, and then it cut to
Hmm.
me, and I was like, wow, I'm so sad.
Hmm.
um, and then yeah, this weekend I was just crying a lot about. I don't know, just like felt good, it felt nice, but I guess like I guess the feeling of that people often say the words and say the things, but it's like a totally different thing. And just sort of like the grief of that. Does that make sense?
I think so. A disparity between like what's there and what's said so
Yeah.
often. Yeah.
Yeah. And the like incapacity to create like understanding and shared reality and stuff around that.
That makes sense that you would cry about that. Yeah.
I think the crying is good. It feels like the crying is well, the crying is a good sign. It's like it's like coming out of the trauma zone and into the grieving zone.
Yeah. The reason I said it was surprising that you've been really sad lately tallies with that pretty well. I feel like each time I've seen you since the retreat, like your face looks a little more radiant. You look a little more like here and yeah, something like there's something good happening with the musculature of your face or something.
Hmm.
And yeah, that tallies well with okay, you're really sad, but it's like the sadness is coming out and going. Yeah.
Yeah. Feels like my whole face was melting over the weekend.
You need that sometimes. You
Sometimes
need a
when your
melty
face is so
face.
stuck inside, you need your whole face to melt.
God knows I could use that. In that exact exercise where it was just looking at people's faces, like every person's intro to me was just like, okay, sad, well of sadness, deep ocean of sadness. Okay, and then here's all the other stuff that's happened. I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's the base layer. Let's get back over that. Leona's thing too. She just looked and she's like, I'm getting a lot of sadness. Like, yeah, like, come on. That's the Bush League stuff. Let's get further than that.
I thought it was
Hmm.
nice the sepia film. I thought
The what film?
the way Leona put it, like the sepia
Oh,
film.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, she not wrong. She not wrong. Hmm.
Mine's like a sad Ed Sheeran song just playing on repeat.
Just all the time, just low volume and then higher volume, and then we're back to low, and it's all good. Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. I feel like I got some peek of the way that you relate to music I see you talk about music a lot and your practices since I've known you, you've always recommended like, yep, just put on the headphones and cover up and find the vibe and roll with it. And it's always been like medium for me. It's like, yeah, I can get into that sometimes or not. Or yeah, past few weeks it's been much more. Well, I've been getting involuntary ones like throughout the year, but it's been more like a thing that I can really hook into the past few weeks. Yeah, that's just been interesting.
Yeah. What does the difference feel like
Between
now and before?
the first thing that comes up is it's like I'm getting the image of like Velcro or something, where before music and my energy body are just kind of like, eh. Velcro is not a good metaphor either because like it moves. But now that's like there's a hook there and they like touch each other and then scrape and things move and go. And
Mm.
that's a lot of how it tends to feel at this point is, yeah, a song will just hit and something starts like cranking through my channels and pulling and like it hooks. There's just actual contact and hooking and scraping or moving or pulsing or something. And before it was much less of that, like very gentle, distant massage of just like, yeah, it can wave it in that direction. Now it's like, no, no, we're going. Come on, buddy. Get it.
Yeah. I think it's the way it's like, I think some people, the way they describe listening to music when they're tripping is how I experience it.
All the time.
Yeah. And I was actually, me and Yost were talking about this once when we were walking through Utrecht. He was describing how music sounds when he's tripping. And at that time, there was a garage door that was opening. And I was like, just like vibing with the sound of the garage door opening.
Right.
It's like, oh, yeah, I think that's like all sounds.
All sounds all the time.
Oh, that
I think,
garage door sound
oh,
really
yeah,
moving
that
through.
gets it going. I get that with if I'm in a very like open, just like open, expanded, nice state, and then like sudden noises sharpen. There's two options. Like used to be the default, just like clam back up, panic, go. And now it's about 60-40 40% like still just the clam up, go. But the rest of the time it just like washes through. It's like, ooh,
Ooh.
okay, what was that? Yeah. Give me another walnut falling on this tin ceiling. I'll take that again. Mhm.
That's so good.
Mhm. Yeah, something about the way that like the body and cells and all of this like lives in time and has to like change and grow in time. And then there's all the like energetic and cosmic and whatever stuff that is in different time or outside of time. And stuff can have like just flip and be instant there. And it still does need time to imprint into the body and the neurons and the endocrine system that live in time.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it seems like there's ways that yeah, we do get deep reference experience that imprint in the body. And then the body has to actually, yeah, there have to actually be some decisions and directional experiences and stuff that like make that more than just the imprint.
I think the thing that is coming through is a complete way of being.
Hmm.
It's not like a thing that you experience on retreat and then it's like a difference and it does require some integration into how that's going to manifest in your unique life. But it's actually a full it's like a transition stepping across a threshold where you cross and land in it and you're then in a different way of being.
Yeah, something in that resonates. Yeah, I keep getting left just like really, really cold by certain experiences of, or certain descriptions of like meditative experience or attainments or just the way people talk about their practice. That's been on and off for a while, years really, but like it's been really visceral lately, or even just like a couple sentences that someone says about something that happened because of their meditative practice or some experience or even permanent change. And yeah, listening to you talk, it feels like part of what feels so to me about it is that they feel very, yeah, partial, very cut off, very, oh yeah, there's this thing and I can put it into my life. Or and yeah, it's almost like after experiencing more of, yeah, it does kind of feel like, oh yeah, there's just a new way of being that is here and it's whole and total and kind of comes into everything. And then coming back and like feeling the texture over here where it's like, oh yeah, I could just grab a bunch of these little cool, spicy, meditative things, and they don't seem to actually add up to much, but like they're fun party tricks or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's like a cold spikiness over here, and just like this glow. Like I'm getting like a warm glow of emanating light over here in a sphere.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like on retreat. I guess the things here, just like the sense of the sacred heart, the void, like seriousness and playfulness, truth. This quote that I pulled out from what someone said of like the space of silence has expanded, presiding sense of peace that keeps infinitely going. It's just sort of like those things, these like really deeply spiritual qualities that people are experiencing, and then also, yeah, the playfulness, the like darkness, the shadows, the like wholeness of it. That feels very like full. I don't know what to say about it, but the thing that's coming up is the loving void.
That was interesting to hear that coming up on the retreat a couple times. Yeah, what's there at the moment?
I think I'm often sitting in that, and it seems to impact people really deeply. I think something someone said was like recognizing how important the void transmission was and the experiences of the void was for being with all the mystical stuff. I think maybe there's something in that, what we were talking about before, where you tend to get a lot of places are either very heavy on like soul making, relational stuff, interconnection,
Hmm.
uh, all of that stuff, or it's like very heavy on impermanence, emptiness, the void, getting cessation or whatever. And I think there's something in the wholeness of the, yeah, it's like the void has a really deep, important truth and transmission that can support the kind of like deepening into the mystical and the relational and yeah, regardless of all that, it just like feels nice to sit in it.
Yeah, that feels like something to me, and I can't quite find it. But I'm noticing, like, I have my own stuff around voidy deconstruction stuff where I think I'm decently well protected from a lot of it and kind of keep a lot of it over here. And I think at the first retreat, there was something we were talking about the 16 boxes, maybe between retreats. And I think that was the primary example you gave where there was some reminder of like all of these 16 aspects of experience are all like the same thing and fractally nested and just different. You can like sense into how each one is the real world, the real center. And I think that was two of the examples of like, yeah, yeah. So like feel into universal love. And now how can you feel like how this is the void? I'm like, yeah, what? What's that? And then like, yeah, from the void, sense that that is love. That just is love. I'm like, okay, okay. And then yeah, bounced around to a couple others of like, and both of those are this, and this is all of that. And but those are the ones that stuck with me. Even past like the loving void, like almost ghosting the words on top of each other, or like in my system, it's like, ah, the void is love, love is void. What's happening? And like it destabilizes my system in a way that's very jittery and nice. From like, okay, I should probably stick around that more, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anything else about the, because I feel like another one of those is everything is energy. I wonder if there's something about the realizing that your energy first and perspective comes above that, which felt like a big theme for people. I mean, that's like certainly part of the soup that am in.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. What's coming up for me? Two things. One of which is like that's been a big theme of my year and a half. It's like, all right, energy is primary. Everything is energy first, and stuff follows from that. And then just realizing that more and more deeply by month. It's like, surely it doesn't go that far. Oh, goes a little further. Okay, but surely that's okay. The second thing is, yeah, this theme that showed up from a bunch of people of the power of the retreats being around people where like you can see what you see, you can know what you know. And yeah, where it did kind of just feel pretty obvious and accepted hanging around there. It was like, oh yeah, energy is either primary or extremely important. And we can all kind of meet there, which is very different from the outside world of like, okay, energy is clearly like deeply primary and important. And then what I'm interacting with is energy is not real. What are you talking about? That's not a thing. That's very jarring. Yeah, just being in a place where, yeah, that's accepted. And you can just have that in your system and have it around you. Felt very powerful.
yeah, and then there's something there about the thing we did in the exercise where it's like the way that it spreads is not through ideas. It's
Mm,
through like it always starts to sound a bit jargony when you talk about it, but it's like through relational fields that have different energetic shapes and templates.
mm. Yeah. What do you see there in these retreats?
Yeah, one thing that is coming up is like at the end of the last retreat, doing a one-to-one with someone and going through various phases, but then kind of inviting them into my energy, and they were like, "Whoa, this is really cool." And they said something like, um, "Why don't you go around like beaming this at people all the time?" And um, yeah, there's something about the kind of like humility of like stepping in where you have to be willing to like leave a bunch of it's almost like you have to put down your weapons or something, leave the weapons at the door and sort of like ways of relating that are like violent or a kind of um not honoring of, yeah, like the it's really hard to put into words, but there's something about humility and like stepping in and requiring a kind of like, I think we've talked about how friendship is one of the keys, and it's just like a sincereness of being present and meeting the other person like with, yeah, kind of like an open heart where you can recognize it's not like you're looking for something specific, but there's like a slightly different mode that opens up. And yeah, it was something about requiring that like humility and stepping in, and then it's like a tree putting its roots into the earth, and then it can connect to the mycorrhizal network that then feeds and nourishes it. But if you're just like if you were just like a person who wanted to like farm the mycorrhizal network for lots of, like, dominate it and farm it for lots of stuff to like make you more powerful, it's like something in its mode like protects itself against that.
Hmm.
um is the image that comes, I don't know.
I want to check the where that started. The why don't you just walk around beaming this at everyone? I think I hear where that connects, but can you like explicitly say where that connects to this?
Yeah, I think there's a way that it could be like I think there is, I did some transmission stuff on the retreats, and there is a way that some of it gets transmitted, and that's important, and it's cool to like really share some important elements of it. But it's almost like as soon as it's turned into it's a bit like it doesn't have the power to beam or be beamed.
Hmm.
It's like the power of it is in sort of like surrender, openness, humility, presence. Um, and so it's more kind of like an invite to open in that way. And then when you do, you're like, oh, cool, it's like really magical in here and really like, yeah, beautiful and whole and has all these elements. Um, yeah, but it's as much, it's like a lack of pretense as it is a thing that can like come out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. But I've spent a lot of time with you. the the image that I'm getting again is this thing you've said about how it's mycorrhizal. It spreads through friendship, spreads through relationships, spreads through, and I'm hearing again these like energy fields with different shapes, different dynamics to them. And I'm kind of seeing this image again of you kind of have to have some coherent core of okay, all of this is connected and the connections are good, and then you can kind of start adding in at the edges and then add in another couple at these edges. And that it is like connecting, not subsuming. When you're talking about the like beaming, I'm like picturing like Buddha laser snipers or something. It's like picking off people with Buddha light in the middle. Got him. Another one enlightened. Him. Get him. And that doesn't. And something about that is connecting with like the way that these retreats get run and seem to want to be run as well, where it is less just like it's not like okay, whoever can buy a ticket come and do this and we'll stitch you together, and there's a lot of limitations on what is possible there. And it does seem to be some version of just like okay, people who know each other and then some people who like know each other kind of, and we can kind of cohere from that, and then that spreads it a little more and we can get in more people and good and more. And I'm seeing like a breathing to it. And Yeah, I guess just that makes sense to me and ties in with how the retreats seem to actually functionally work in ways that they probably would not functionally work.
Yeah, totally.
Would be great if we could just get a lineup and you just kind of put your hand on people's head, Shaktipat style, and just like blasted with wholeness, blasted, blasted. And they just go through and it's good. We got it.
Uh,
That'd be more efficient. I think that would be significantly less fun.
yeah. Right. And then there's like an element of the wholeness thing there, which is sort of like zooming all the way out to the wholeness of the universe and that it has to do its whole thing in order for the thing to happen.
I'm reminded of David's rule on the first retreat that you are not allowed to say the word thing too many times in a row. Can you say that again with less thing?
Yeah, thanks. It's like the universe has to create its entire expression in order for it to go through its process where it's creating the experience it's creating.
Yeah, can I check? Yeah, I'm hearing some echo there of, and that might just be me, of where we kind of started, where I was asking about the like, there's things outside of time and they just need ways to instantiate into time. And that has to just be its own process. Like up here, it can just immediately flip into something, but that takes time to move through the human body, the biome, the galaxy, whatever else. Is that present here?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And outside of time, it's already just like fully whole and abundant. And, but then also, like, what does that even mean if it isn't expressed yet? Um,
Hmm.
it needs the universe to do its process and dance in order to mean anything.
Yeah, that's reminding me of a question I had after the last couple talks. The simplest version is just like, okay, like what are you doing with these retreats? Like, why do this? What's the purpose? What's the thing? Yeah, I could say more, but I could just leave it there. You're nodding already, so let's leave it there.
Yeah, what am I doing?
What are you doing?
The one of the simplest answers is letting the universe express itself through me and like watching and experiencing the universe express itself through everyone there. Then there's like a more directional thing, which is aligning that more deeply with truth, wholeness, presence, um, yeah, emptiness, spaciousness, depth.
Yeah, so just pushing back on the like, okay, the everything is everything, and there's a wholeness to the universe and the cosmos and blah blah blah. Why take a direction towards spaciousness and depth and so on when like contraction and shallowness are equally valid and equally part of everything? Why take this direction?
Yeah, I think they're equally valid. Um, and they serve important purposes. But the purpose, the deeper and purpose is like purposefulness in my model is really deeply related to mysticism.
Mhm.
It's like this the thing the divine does have a purposefulness in it. And yeah, there's like an orientation to the things that feel there's like a really fine line here. Like feel good is too reductive. I think there's a way there could be a much simpler universe where things are just like vibing and feeling good. but there's like feel rich, meaningful. Um, there's well-being, there's like complexity, engagement, kind of like yeah, the universe is sort of like creating this really just like full, vibrant expression and orienting towards this kind of like really rich whole expression that has a lot of well-being in it. Um, and also truth. I think there's a way that like for me, I have a if it's like why am I doing that like this specific piece
Mm.
manifestation of the universe is that I have a really deep um care and devotion to um and again truth can be a bit it's a bit like the equivalent of like feeling good or something. It can be a bit reductive. It's like oh truth as if it's this thing, but it's like expressions of deep truths in action and um and it just feels better, right? When we're like hanging and vibing and all the stuff can be there. It just feels way better. Um, so that's the simple answer.
Nice. So the purpose of the retreats is hanging and vibing so it feels good. Excellent. There
Totally.
we go. uh, nice.
I think I also, it's like I see in it, if I really feel into my truth, it's like I feel the context of it's like it's like experience is making a big change, or it has done that through me, and I live in that. And it's also doing that through other people and like culture, and it's kind of always doing that in one way, but in another way it's like I'm here sitting in a completely different paradigm, and it like if I yeah situating that in a bigger timeline, it's just clearly the thing wants to like go through a transformation.
What are some of the ways you see it besides you and what you do, like expressing and moving into that transformation and that change?
Yeah, I think it's like if you look at the last 100 years of time, it does feel in a way like we're a different species to what humans were doing before. There's a way that I did a tour of when I visited my brother in Edinburgh, I did a tour of Edinburgh and some houses. I think they were from the 17th century, not quite sure, but people would just live in a one room, like 10 people in a family, and that's it. It's like kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, everything is in that one room, and they can't, they never leave the city. They can't afford to leave the city. The tax they have to pay, and so, and then it's like that compared to this world now, where I think, yeah, in terms of like material stuff, it's obviously just a completely different world, but also this move where people are they're like such strong individuals and can introspect, and we know what the subconscious is and can like talk about feelings. I think even a generation ago, people didn't really talk about their feelings that much. Um, like there's just this sort of like total flip change in what it means to be human and how people show up. And then there's all of the kind of like big wave of meditation, contemplative practice, introspection, therapy, psychedelics. Uh, it's like all of that is kind of like built on this, yeah, like material change where people have the resources to be individuals and experience things. Then it's like on top of that, there's all this like more, yeah, spiritual kind of resource into like that being a really deeply meaningful thing to do. And I just think that yeah, creates a different environment, and then you start to get people who are resourced to go through deep experiences into like yeah, deep soulfulness and awakening and um be able to share that.
Yeah, I want to ask. I remember that bit was like even a generation ago, people didn't really like introspect and feel their feelings that much. And you used that to comfort me one time in my dating woes, where you were like, yeah, there's just like not that many people into a lot of this stuff. Like a generation ago, if you wanted someone who like really felt their feelings and was with themselves, there just weren't that many people. And now like they're everywhere. It's fine. And then we're kind of at like the start of more of an uptick of people who are into a lot of this stuff. And stretching back much further, like you said, the whole family in one room, can't imagine like leaving to another city. And yeah, so I think part of me is just like, okay, directionally, what species do you see us being in 100 years? Or like what values, what things, like what's it look like? What's going on? And then there's some curiosity I want to chase after that question around like, I don't know, some sense of just like the ways of relating that we find at the retreats is people have asked me before about like last year's retreat even, just like what do you think it looks like for like an entire society to be like energetically conscious and stuff. I'm like, I have no idea, because I was in a couple experiences with like 10 people for like shortish periods of time and everything got very different. I don't know what the world would look like that over years and decades. Yeah, curious about your sense of where does this want to go? What do we look like?
Yeah, this is super interesting. I think there's like the perspective where everyone is going somewhere where we're going, like where we're on retreats, and there's like a whole um societal shift towards that. Um that would be lovely. And it's hard to imagine where the resource would come from that. But then, like AI or whatever things could completely, in the same way that industrialization and like computers have transformed the world, there's a way that something could happen that makes the level of resource and capacity available. The other view is that there's like always been the shamans and the mystics and the people who are doing something a bit different. Someone on the first retreat was sort of saying like, yeah, the this is like the mutants. Just like a degree of like sensitivity and capacity to be with that sensitivity that just most people most people don't have and also don't want. Like there's not a draw towards this kind of like I don't know, it's a bit like being like the highest level quantum physicist or something. It's like most people hate studying physics at school. They don't want to go on to become like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something in kind of like this mystical way of being, which is yeah, maybe a bunch of it does just stay niche. Um, but then also I guess I'm writing a book called The Living Imaginal Realm, which is that it's there whether people are sensitized to it and attuned to it or not. Um, I guess a bit like people's feelings. It's like people are feeling stuff, whether they're talking about it, whether they're aware of it or not. And it's like one of the biggest driving forces behind what it's being experienced and unfolding. And then it's kind of like this energetic, mystical, like undercurrent is always there in everybody's experience. And then it's like, how much do people attune to it? So I guess the kind of probably I mean, anything could happen, but the thing that feels most likely to me is that there's like just a waking up to that layer and an attunement and a like inclusion of this way of being that sort of introduces kind of like a completely different dimension to what life is and what experience is and what it means. And how it's related to. Um, yeah, but it's a bit like people, it's like when people became sort of suddenly more rational or something from the Renaissance or the Enlightenment era. It's like suddenly this sort of like mode of being opened up where that changed how people experienced the world and they related to each other. Um, yeah, does that make sense?
It does perfectly. There's more things I want to chase, but I feel like we're going into more interview territory and less
Mm.
what was up with the retreats territory.
Mhm. I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Out of if that was to happen, what do you think are the most important? What do you think are the things that are like nicest when they're there, when they're there in the water? What do you think make the biggest difference?
Hmm. I think one of them is definitely just what everyone kind of mentioned at the retreats is like, yeah, you don't have to feel crazy for noticing things anymore. um, yeah, that would be huge. Just being
Yeah.
able to notice what people are feeling and saying and what the energy of a situation is, and for that to be just kind of open and discussable and like even not discussable, even just like, no one discusses that all of the trees are green. We all just assume everyone knows that the trees are green and we operate from that. Yeah, that would be huge. Um, hmm. It feels like that one's so big that I have to like recalibrate to find the next on the list, even.
Mhm.
What else would be good there? This goes under a similar, everything might just fall under that category, but I have gotten increasingly frustrated the past couple of years. And this week it has hit an all-time high. I'm reading a book at the moment where the entire plot depends on characters like not telling each other basic things because of
Okay.
various emotional and relational and weirdnesses. And like, oh, if I say this at the wrong time, it'll do this. And oh yeah, he didn't do that. He saw that. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, grow up and say your shit to each other. Whatever. And I feel like there's a one version of that where like it's people watching in the movies of like, oh, you love him and he loves you. Just tell each other. It'll be fun. Not even that. Just like, just with the information that you have, just fucking grow up and say your stuff. Don't knock it off. That having more stuff and more conversations and more relationships where the things are just said. And, I'm hanging out with someone at the moment who that is, I can just expect that constantly. And it's not that big of a deal to just show up in a conversation with like, I'm like really annoyed and like kind of angry. I'm not 100% sure why. It's attaching to this thing that you did, but like I'm not married to the idea that it's because you did that. I'm just really frustrated and angry. And that is mostly met with just like, oh, yeah, let's look at that. Like, what does that feel like to be in that? What is blah, blah, blah. And I like kind of forget going into other interactions from just like, oh God, I've got like a lot of fear right now. I'm like, oh, like, are you okay? What's happening? Is this what's good? And that there's just no way to hold being honest and clear about what is actually there,
Mm.
what's in a connection, what's in. Yeah, so that would be huge. Just being able to count on that capacity.
Yeah, nice. Is there something for you? Is there something is do you I guess I feel for me there's a lot of like kind of like bliss and joy flows, and it's a little bit maybe it's not always the most helpful to talk about it in that terms because then people try and go towards bliss and joy, and that's not how you
Mm.
get there. You get there by like being whole and present and surrendered. But I wonder, does that feel present or does that feel It's like the nice flowiness of when things are named and present and allowed to be as they are. Things like have a kind of
Mm.
like a more pleasant sort of embodied and emotional valence to them.
Yeah, there's a lot I could say here, but I can just kind of just say yes. That's what I'm pointing at with a lot of this, is not just the, I don't know, I'm aware there's something like semi that can sound like semi, not clinically, but colloquially like autistic about the, I just want everything to be clear and people to say what they mean. And that's not really what I mean. What I am pointing at is much more just, yeah, everything just kind of flows and moves, and so much more becomes possible. The image in my head is like that everything is constantly stuck and frozen in our
Mm.
relationships and society and everything. And it's just always a little stuck because we can't do this. And it's not even that, like, aha, we did that and now we have rationally put the puzzle pieces together. Everyone knows everything. But it is that it becomes like you can just count on this moving flow and merge, and it just feels good and nice. And beyond it just feeling good and nice, which that's enough. But like it feels like it then can just go somewhere and do what it wants to do and be next. So yeah, it kind of feels like every situation everywhere is like an adolescent boy who's like built into a little box and his little bones are breaking from trying to grow. And it's like, no, no, just take off the box and let the thing grow and exist and run around. And that's more what I'm pointing at. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's lovely. And I feel like again, maybe just for people listening, it's like it kind of sounds metaphorical, but it's also it has like a direct embodied experience as well.
It is a very direct embodied experience often. Yes.
Yeah. Like when you were doing this, I think that's when I was talking about like the richness as well. It's like the joy and the bliss and the feeling is not that this is all good, nice content, or
Mm.
it's like it shows up a certain way. It's like, oh, there's sadness and there's challenge and there's beauty and there's this and there's this, but it's like when it's in its flow and allowed to express, there's like a and meta quality doesn't feel quite right either because that sounds like intellectual, but there's like uh
Infra quality.
an infra quality or like a yeah, just a joy at the process being the process. There's also something in what you said about the thing about I think the not super sort of autistic thing where that it's like coming from a society where no one talks about these things. There's like a phase that you have to go through where you're like naming things more
Mm.
and being more direct. But
Yeah.
then, like you say, it gets to the phase where it's just like the trees are green. And it's like people, I think on both retreats, it's like you start to be able to attune to other people on that level without effort. You're just picking up and receiving and able to give each other signals. And you're, yeah, there's some like checking that out and sharing and things that you don't know that you want to share, but there is a level of just being able to like feel and respond to each other in that way, and make space for each other. And yeah, it just feels really good.
This is reminding me of I mentioned at some point in the retreat, it felt like I hit like a higher octave of struggle where a lot of things were going wrong, everything was difficult. And what you described as like the meta joy in the process, or just the joy that the process exists, or whatever. Yeah, to me, that felt like just a higher octave of the struggle where I'm like, yeah, everything's really hard. And that's pretty smooth. Like, that's just a part of what's here. And yeah, that's a thing that I have difficulty communicating still around a lot of stuff. So you just describe the event and people are like, oh, that sucks. That must be really fucking hard and bad. And it's like, no, no. I mean, like, yeah, like it's not pleasant, but like it is also deeply, wonderfully present or pleasant. But also, yeah, no, it sucks. But like it's great. The sucking is so great. It's such a yummy
Yeah.
suckiness to it. It needs to suck right now, and it's so good that it's perfectly sucking exactly the way that it needs to be shitting. Yeah.
I think there's also something when I feel into it energetically, it's like there's like an energetic quality where that dance is allowed to happen in it, conditions that allow that. And then there's conditions where yeah, it contracts and becomes like spiky and rigid, and the puzzle of how can you increase the capacity for that person or group's energy to be in the dancing flowing version more often with a greater range of content. uh that's another answer to the reason why do I do it.
Yeah, that feels like for whatever reason, that is a more satisfying answer to me. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it feels like it's more specific.
yeah. And yeah, it very much matches my experience of being on these is, yep, much greater, wonderful, increased capacity to be with the dancing, flowing quality. And then the downside of that being also a much greater, yeah, frustration, sadness, and just like noticing of where that is not the case and like when that is not the case. Just like, oh, come on, system. Like, I know we can do this. Where is it? Can we find the thing? And yeah, just increased dissatisfaction sometimes. And it's like, oh, I'm really out of it. Where is it? And knowing that there's always a move to like re-include even that in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I just can't quite find it, it seems like I
Mm-hmm.
always need someone else's help to find it. But yeah, which is another great quality of being on the retreats is there's always someone who can help you find it, usually very quickly.
I'm like struggling to be located located in my body right now.
In what way? How does that feel?
It feels nice. I think there's like
That's
a sort of fisheye radiance.
yeah, yeah, I feel that. Yeah, anything else that feels like you want to cover?
There's something coming up. I don't know if this is like an interesting thread, but I'll just pull it and see. Awakening Sangha is the one
Hmm.
that's pinging, where it's like actually really finding, I guess in the context someone was reflected, it's like how they really felt like they found the people who were really committed to awakening, not just as a side project or a status thing or like a whatever. It's like the context was kind of it's the real deal. And yeah, I guess there's a question around like sacrifice and what that takes, but also the real thing can't be like instrumentalized for status and power,
Hmm.
but it clearly is powerful and desirable. And yeah, like how to hold that. And like it takes sacrifices. It takes letting go of a lot of things in life that are comfortable and easy and that yeah require a lot of courage and pain and hardship, and but also from the view of when you're in it you're like, I'm obviously gonna sacrifice that, like it's not even
Yeah.
um it's obviously worth it. And I don't know, I just some thinking all of that is like swimming in in something which is like I tend to avoid being like marketing-y about this stuff because you want people who really want to do the thing to show up and
Yeah, I think the marketing is just mostly how you show up and how the people around you show up. I'm getting that thing about coherence again, where it's like, yeah, if people just kind of show up with the way that they are and how they hold themselves, that's the best and only marketing for this type of thing. And also, yeah, you were just pinging oh, yeah, something you said hour or so ago about the when like all of the right words are present and they're all like strung together nicely and it looks pretty. And also, you can just, there's just not the nourishment of like the real thing behind the words. And yeah, but it is difficult to find anywhere where the real thing is kind of being pursued in a real way. And that's probably quite functional. I think if you could
mm,
just Google, where's the real thing? I totally want it. Probably good that there's a bit of filter there.
definitely.
There's something that's come up with a few people that feels worth mentioning. What you just said about the like from the inside of it, it's just like, yeah, obviously I'm gonna sacrifice that, of course. What are we talking about? And yeah, I've heard some version of this and like said some version of this a few times with various people where there's almost, yeah, there's like a sense of choicelessness.
If I feel into that in myself, it's like love being such a core part of it in a way where the choice is like either it's like cut yourself off from what you love and what is true and what is real for you, or be connected to it. Being in the this um yeah, awakened experience, whatever you want to call it, is like being in love with experience, not just in the nice way, but in the way where the fullness of it can be felt and experienced. And yeah, there's something about like honoring the honoring reality or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm really losing words here, but
No, all of that feels about right. Yeah. There's a pretty embodied feeling to the, yeah, if the choice is between being like in touch with all of these things about yourself and yeah, honoring reality of what's there versus never mind, not gonna do that. Like there's not really a choice. Why would I do that? Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
it's sort of like the thing and the we what we call it the energetic truth soup is already the energetic truth soup that it is. And you
Mm,
can either be in love with it and see it clearly or protect yourself from it. And like
mm,
sometimes and like there are wise reasons to protect yourself from it at times and not just completely dive fully. There are dangers to completely diving fully headfirst, let's put it
mhm.
that way. But there's a that in a way, like that is the invite into the experience.
Yeah, this feels related as well to the what was the phrase I used? Deep reference experience that imprints on your body, where yeah, for me, for example, like there's certain areas where I have just gotten in contact with areas of myself and parts of reality that's I'm not going to give up once they're there. It's like, why would I protect myself or separate from that? And then, obviously there's a bunch of areas where I am protecting myself from reality or not connecting with what's there. And part of that is like, yeah, I don't have a reference experience for what it would even be like to not do that on that layer. was almost like trying to like flex random muscles to try to find this one tiny muscle in my back or something. I'm like, is it that this that I just don't have the reference for what it's like to flex that muscle and to
Mm.
connect in that way, to not protect or clench in that way. And yeah, a lot of these deep reference experiences just kind of open up to that. Like, this is what it would feel like to stop doing the thing that you don't want to be doing. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to not do that anymore as quickly as time and my body allow me to not do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. I feel like this pings back as well to the one of the things that sparked the conversation, which was the phrase "the next Buddha is the Sangha." I guess I was just sharing with you why that like doesn't work. And I think that there's something in both ways of it, which is like you really have to have embodied and gone through the process of letting go of the thing, and then you invite people into that. You like invite people to let go of that and land in the newer way of being. And I think one of the things that is like from this perspective is kind of like walking around with it's kind of a bit like having heat goggles or something where you can just see all of the contractions and all the ways sangas are just like totally in like contracted small
Mm,
form. You're
mm.
like, yeah, good luck. Good luck getting to Buddhahood in that configuration. Um when, when people say it, I'm like, okay, maybe in 100 lifetimes. Um,
Can I? Okay.
but then there is the truth in it where it's not that one person holds all of the keys. And that's an important part of like what we're doing on the retreats is that people, yeah, I'm just thinking about different people leading different things and they can like activate and invite and uh bring in different yeah, it's like um what's the feeling I get? The energetic feeling I get is my experience is very, very deep, kind of, yeah, emptiness, spaciousness that allows a lot of just all of the sort of relational and interpersonal and individual contraction to sort of start dropping off and falling away and open into something much more spacious and fluid. And then each person comes in as like a dance of, including me, like as a dance of Buddha nature, and people hold different keys and different invites. And over here, it's like really deep, kind of like energetic precision, or like, um, yeah, just kind of like really bright, sort of like, uh, kind of like white, crisp, like Buddha nature transmission, or like, yeah, mine. When I bring myself in, it's often like deep, kind of like voidy, like dark, voidy stuff, and it's just like these different elements that can come in the dance. Um, so yeah, I thought I would tie that back in.
Oh yeah, just the good luck getting the Buddhahood in that configuration. Sangha. uh, yeah, one of the things that's interesting to me, I want to reflect to you there is the when I because I just don't have a Buddhist bone in my body, basically, so I take a lot of these things and just retranslate them to the thing that makes sense in me, and then just keep using the vocabulary because yeah. Um, and yeah, that shows up with a lot of things like equanimity, for example. When I have like the idea of equanimity and tried to go towards it, it just feels cold, dead. I don't like it. It feels bad to be there, blah, blah, blah. Because the way people talk about it, the way I read about it, I get my idea of what it is and I go towards it. And then I stumble around over here and accidentally fall backwards into like something that actually does feel more like equanimity. And it's not even close to what I had thought or felt. about it. It was like, and someone else has to point out, like, wait, isn't that just equanimity? I'm like, oh, I guess that is. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And yeah, when I hear like Buddha is the Sangha thing, I completely like X out actual Sangha, basically like a built Sangha or anything. And yeah, I wanted to check like my sense of when I hear that it is much more agglomerative or something, where like there is some type of collective Buddha field that wants to emerge where, yeah, different people hold the keys and kind of the energy comes through all of them. And there is some type of group field unity thing there. And it is just like a group field. And that it's not like a group that forms itself and comes in. It's like there's this person and oh, connected this one and this one. It slowly builds. And it's nothing that you'd be like, that is a Sangha. It would be like after the fact, you kind of look back and like, wait, is that what they meant by next Buddha is the Sangha? Oh yeah, I guess kind of that. Yeah. But yeah, wanted to check my sense versus the more traditional sense, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there's a way that so I guess there's a way that maybe to start on the equanimity question, it's like how deep does there's like an essence of a quality, something like equanimity, and then it's like how deep does it reach? Where does it emanate from? Is it just, in some traditions, places where people practice, everything is mind, and so equanimity is a quality of mind.
Mm,
That's very different to when it's like energetically in someone's heart, which is much more inclusive. So I use the word inclusion, and it's like pointing to the same uh like quality of, yeah, like unperturbable, spacious uh love, um and openness. But it's just a very different thing when it's an emanation of mind versus when it's a like ensouled, embodied, uh
mm.
sort of non-dual with meaning expression. Um and I think you can look at the same with like the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, which are the three jewels of awakening in Buddhism. It's like, yeah, you can do the same way. You can sort of like look at it in different ways and remix it and experience it in from this sort of like cosmic perspective where everything is Buddha nature and the purpose of the cosmos is to like wake up, and everyone is like playing a small role in that. And at that point, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha become this sort of just like non-dual kind of um emanation of like life force. And that's a fractal which can kind of like be seen in one person's practice, in a group, in a society, in a universe. Um, but it's also helpful to like there's a failure mode with sort of non-dual stuff where you then collapse it and say, well, it's all the same, and it's not different. And it's like the capacity to, yeah, distinguish and be really clear that those are different things and they have different roles, and they um yeah, it can take different forms. There's an emptiness there, but it's not. Does that make sense? Is that answering the question, or am I sidestepping?
That is itself a good question. It feels like it's on the way to answering my question, but isn't there yet.
Yeah, it's like each one of those, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, has a role, to a really important role and essence that uh activates something in the awakening journey for people.
Cool. There's a few things I'm hearing there, but the thing that I'm mostly hearing you saying is I'm seeing like kind of the three circle overlap thing where it is useful to have like, yeah, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, all same thing. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, all separate, same thing. Noticing the ways in which the Buddha, it just is the Dharma, good. Dharma just is the Sangha, good. but that you can't like just reduce any of those parts.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
and maybe like to give a concrete example, it's like on the second retreat, I during the storm phase where a bunch of people were struggling and everything was sort of there's like a disintegrating quality, like a kind of dark night of the sort of group or collective field. Um, one person came to me and they were really disturbed, and I was just helping them and holding them through it. And um, one of the things I sort of jokingly said is sometimes you have to dress the Buddha and not the Sangha, where there's just like from an awake perspective, you just have a much vaster capacity to like hold the Sangha through the process and be there and be present and be like giving people the things they need and like waking them up and nourishing and just like trust and faith in the overarching view that the Sangha doesn't have from within itself. And I think that that's like yeah, the sort of there's like a failure mode of this kind of uh yeah, like collective is everything thing, which doesn't value that level of like expertise, precision, discernment, wisdom, where there's someone who can like actually see better than the collective can see. And without that, it never really like yeah, coheres or takes off in the same way. And it's not about dominating and one person, yeah, kind of like yeah, dominating and being in control, but it's like having that being able to move into that single person who has the perspective view is vital basically for making the thing happen.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad we chased this one down.